Hi, I am Sanjay Patel. In this lecture, we are going to introduce a very important type of ideal in a ring. Namely, it is called principal ideal. And at the end of this, we'll understand a special class of rings which is known as principal ideal rings. So let us begin with a result and then we'll define what is called principal ideal. So this theorem let R plus dot be a commutative ring with unity. With unity element 1. Okay. Let A belongs to capital R be fixed. So A is any element of the ring R. And define a set, say capital I, as set of elements which are of the form R into A, where small r belongs to capital R. So you can say all multiples of this element A in a simple form. This R is any element of the ring R and this A is fixed. So I contains all such elements. Then our aim is to prove that number 1, capital I is an ideal of R. So I is an ideal first of all. Number 2, the fixed element A also belongs to I. A belongs to I. And number 3, I is the smallest ideal. I is the smallest ideal in R which contains the element A. Okay, so very important result, and this ideal is actually known as principal ideal. So I will be defining and introducing the notation also at the end of the proof of this theorem. But remember, this ideal is actually known as principal ideal, and it is called principal ideal generated by the fixed element A. Okay. So let us begin with the proof. So first part, I want to show that I is an ideal. For proving a set is an ideal, we have to check 3 things: that it is non-empty, it is a subgroup with respect to plus, and it satisfies that ideal condition. You know what do I mean by ideal condition? It is for every R belongs to capital R and for every X belongs to I, we have R into X and X into R both belongs to I. So our set I is this set and we want to prove it is an ideal. See, if I take R equal to 0, R is a ring, so it contains the 0 element, and we know that 0 into A is equal to 0, where 0 is the 0 of the ring. Okay, but this 0 belongs to R. So therefore, I can say this element 0 is of the form R into A. So therefore, this 0 belongs to I also, and therefore I is non-empty set. That is our result number 1. Second thing I want to show is I is a subgroup of R plus. So for proving a subgroup, let us start with 2 arbitrary elements, X and Y belongs to I, be arbitrary. What is I? I contains elements of the form R into A. So if X belongs to this set, then X is of the form say something into A, where something belongs to R. So this implies there exist say some elements R and S belongs to capital R, such that X I can write as R into A and Y I can write as S into A. Every member of the set I is of the form something into A, where that something belongs to the ring. What I want to prove is X minus Y also belongs to I in order to show that I is a subgroup of R plus. So now if I consider X minus Y, that is R into A minus S into A, then by distributive law we can write it as R minus S dot A. We can write it as R minus S times A. This R minus S I can call it small t, okay, where t is R minus S. Now what are R and S? R and S are elements of the ring R, and it is closed with respect to addition, so R minus S also belongs to R. So what I have proved is X minus Y is of the form something into A, that something is T here and that belongs to R. So the conclusion is that X minus Y belongs to the set I. So X minus Y belongs to I. Thus we have proved that for every X and Y belongs to I implies X minus Y also belongs to I. Okay. And therefore the set I comma plus is a subgroup of R comma plus. Okay, this is my second result. The next thing is to show that the set I satisfies the ideal condition. Ideal condition means, for every R belongs to R and for every X belongs to I must show R into X belongs to I and X into R also belongs to I. But here R is commutative, so it is sufficient to prove it is only a left ideal. So let us start with two elements. Say R belongs to, say, capital R and X belongs to I. This is any two elements of R and I. Now as X belongs to I, we can write X in the form something into A, and that something I want to write as S into A for some element S belongs to the ring R. It is by definition of the set I, because I contains all multiples of A. Now if I consider R into X, then R into X means R into S into A, which we can rewrite using associativity property of multiplication in a ring as R into S into A because of associativity for multiplication. Okay. So this we can call as R dash into A, where R dash is nothing but R into S, and this R and S both are elements of the ring R, so R into S also belongs to R. So what is proved is R into X is also of the form this, and therefore the conclusion is R into X belongs to I, because this element is of the form something into A, where that something belongs to R. So by definition of I, Rx belongs to I. So what is proved here is, for every R belongs to R and for every X belongs to I have proved that R into X belongs to I. So therefore I can say that I is, let me write this as result number 3. So therefore I is a left ideal, because of 1, 2 and 3. What is 1, 2, and 3? In 1, we have shown it is non-empty set. In result number 2, we have proved that I plus is a subgroup of R plus. And in result number 3, we have checked the ideal condition that for every R belongs to R and for every X belongs to I, R into X belongs to I. This is the condition for a set I to be left ideal. So therefore, the conclusion is I is a left ideal. But R is commutative, but the ring R is a commutative ring, and therefore every left ideal is also a right ideal. So this implies I is also a right ideal, and hence I is an ideal. Hence capital I is an ideal in the ring R. So we have proved the first part in the given theorem. Let us recall. In this statement, we have to prove I is an ideal in R. So this is done. This is done. And now I want to prove A belongs to I and I is the smallest ideal of the ring R which contains A. So second part is A belongs to I. We have 1 belongs to R because R is a ring with unity, and we can write A is equal to 1 into A. So therefore this says A belongs to I because I contains elements of the form something into A where something belongs to R. So this is your R, small r, which belongs to capital R. So I contains the element A is proved. So I contains A. And the last part, I is the smallest ideal with this property, means I is the smallest ideal containing the element A. This is our last thing, smallest ideal containing the number A or the element A. Okay, how to prove that this is the smallest ideal containing A? For that, what I will do here is I will start with any other ideal which also contains the same element A, and I will show that I is smaller than that arbitrary ideal. So let capital J be any other ideal of the ring R which also contains the element A. That means two things: J is an ideal, number one, and the element A belongs to the set J. So J is any other ideal, arbitrary ideal in the ring which is containing the element A. What I will be proving is I is subset of J. So that means I is the smallest of all ideals which contains the element A. So we shall prove that we shall show that this I is subset of J. Okay. To prove that something is subset of something else, we start with any element in the left hand side set. So let us start with X belongs to I, be arbitrary. It is any element given to us. Now, as X belongs to I can say that X is of the form R into A for some R belongs to capital R by definition of the set I. Okay. Now J is an ideal. J is J is an ideal and this A belongs to J. Therefore, R into this A also belongs to J because of definition of ideal. Okay, by definition of ideal. R is any element of the ring. R belongs to R. And A belongs to J. But what is R into A? R into A is nothing but X. So X belongs to J. This R is an element of the ring R and A also belongs to J. And J is an ideal, so R into A belongs to J. But R into A is nothing but X, so X belongs to J. So what I have proved here is whenever X belongs to I implies X belongs to J. X belongs to J, which means I is subset of J. So therefore, I is subset of J. So hence it follows that I is the smallest ideal. I is the smallest ideal in R containing the element A. Okay. So the theorem is over. And at the end of this theorem, we define this ideal to be a principal ideal. Definition of principal ideal. Okay. So let R plus dot be a commutative ring, with unity, and A belongs to R. A is any element of R. Then the ideal, the set I is equal to set of all elements of the form R into A, where R belongs to R, is an ideal, this is called principal ideal. Is called principal ideal generated by the element A. This is called principal ideal generated by the element A, and it is denoted by the symbol, a special symbol, and it is denoted by the symbol less than A and greater than. Okay. So instead of I, we'll be writing this symbol for principal ideal. So that is I is nothing but this set. So this set means R into A, where R belongs to capital R. So remember, this is very, very important definition of a special class of ideals, namely principal ideal. Okay. It may happen that in a given ring, every ideal, let me first of all consider one simple example, say, of principal ideal. Say, let us write this way. If a ring has unity, then if I take A equal to 0, then the ideal generated by 0, that is R into 0, where R belongs to R. For whatever R you choose, R into 0 is 0. So every time you will get the answer 0. So ideal generated by 0 is singleton 0. So the 0 ideal is a principal ideal. Okay. Then if a ring has unity, if R has unity 1, then if you consider the ideal, principal ideal generated by 1, what you will get is R into 1, just putting A is equal to 1 in that above definition, I will get R into 1 where R belongs to R. So this is equal to R because 1 is multiplicative identity and it means that this is nothing but the whole ring R. So the ideal, principal ideal generated by the unity element, is equal to the whole ring R. So these are the examples of principal ideals. Singleton 0 and the ring R are always principal ideals in any ring. Okay, but other ideals need not be principal ideals. So just conclusion is singleton 0 and capital R are principal ideals, in a ring with unity. And using this ideal, we are going to prove the converse of the theorem which we have proved in our previous video, that a field has no proper ideals. So we'll be proving this in the next lecture. But before concluding this topic, I want to define one more important thing. It may happen that in a given ring, every ideal is a principal ideal. It means every ideal can be expressed in the form this. Every ideal is generated by some element, in other words. So such a ring is given a special name, and that is another important class of rings. So the next very important definition is the definition of principal ideal ring. We can also define principal ideal domain. So two things, principal ideal ring and principal ideal domain. What is the difference? I will tell you. So let R plus dot be a commutative ring, with unity. Okay. Or unity may not be required. Let us just let R plus dot be a commutative ring if every ideal in R is a principal ideal, that is, it is generated by some element, principal ideal of R, then R is called a principal ideal ring. It's called principal ideal ring. In short, we'll write PIR. So this is the definition of principal ideal ring. If every ideal is generated by some element or every ideal is principal ideal, then it is called principal ideal ring. A very, very important definition, principal ideal ring. Okay. But if R itself is an integral domain, and in an integral domain, if every ideal is principal ideal, then such an integral domain is called principal ideal domain. So I am writing as an extra thing, if R plus dot is an integral domain, and if every ideal of R is a principal ideal, every ideal of R is a principal ideal, then R is called principal ideal domain. Principal ideal domain. In short, we'll write it as PID. Okay. So another very important term called principal ideal domain. So remember this word. An integral domain in which every ideal is principal ideal is called principal ideal domain, PID. Okay. We want to check in which kind of ring this can happen. That means which rings are principal ideal rings and which rings are not principal ideal rings. To give examples of principal ideal rings is very simple, but to give example of a ring which is not a principal ideal, we need some more concepts of another special class of rings we'll be studying later on. So let us take first one simple example, or the basic example, or a very important example of principal ideal domain or principal ideal ring. Our very popular ring of integers is actually a principal ideal ring. Okay. So we'll be discussing what kind of rings, whatever you have done so far, are principal ideal rings, and also we'll prove the converse of that result, that every field has no proper ideals, using this concept of principal ideal domain. Okay. So let us prove let us consider one simple thing, that if I consider the ring Z2, let us take a simple example, say Z2 comma plus 2 comma dot 2. What is Z2? Z2 is the set of all residue classes modulo 2. It contains only these two elements. Okay. And we know that Z2 is a field. We know that Z2 is a field because 2 is prime. We already proved that Zn comma plus n comma dot n is a field if n is prime. So Z2 is a field. And we also know that a field has no proper ideals. So the only ideals of Z2 are singleton 0 and the ring Z2 itself. That is, Z2 has the ideals I equal to singleton 0, which we can express as this, as we have seen earlier, and the ideal I, which is equal to Z2, you can express as this. That means this is nothing but the ideal generated by the element class 0, and this is ideal generated by the unity element. Okay. So there are only two ideals, and both the ideals are principal ideals. So I can say that Z2 comma plus 2 comma dot 2 is a principal ideal ring. Not only a principal ideal ring, it is also principal ideal domain, because Z2 is a field and hence it is an integral domain also. So this is the first example, a very simple example of principal ideal ring or principal ideal domain I explained to you. We'll see some more generalized problems in our next lecture, and one application of this principal ideal to show the converse of that theorem, a field has no proper ideals, is also true. So till then, goodbye. Thank you.